How are you? How is it going? How have you been? So, I'm very happy to be guiding you today through Russian language and culture. And greetings from Samara. So, in the beginning of this evening lecture, I would like to begin with something really unusual, because I was very excited when I learned that I'm going to give lectures to students from Malaysia, because I have been on Malaysia 3 times personally, yes, and once it was a business trip, and I was so amazed with Malaysia, with KL, Kuala Lumpur in particular, that I immediately decided to come back on holidays. And then I came back on holidays to Malaysia again. And on my 3rd time, I took about 20 students from Russia to Malaysia to show them around. So it was, I think, 2 years ago. All right. And this is why I decided to begin our today's lecture with some facts about me and probably your country. So in this photo, you can see me. I'm on a business visit to Unical Aviation Institute. So this is me, and you can see the hangar, and you can see an airplane, Jetstream that is. So on the next picture, you can see me at the entrance of Unical. This is the University of KL, or Kuala Lumpur, if you like. So you can see me just in front of this building 3 years ago, I think. All right, so the next one. Yeah, this is me, my colleague, and 2 of my students. I don't know where the rest of the students are. And you can see one of my local friends. Her name is Shu. She graduated with bachelor's degree from Unical, and now she works in aviation in the airport of KL. All right. So again, this is me in KL. We're enjoying some nightlife near the, I don't remember exactly the name. I think it was Surya shopping center, right in the middle. Mountains and people walking, so an absolutely fabulous place. And this is one of the highlights of my visit. This is the visit to the Birds Park. And as I've told you, I've been to Malaysia 3 times, and I was in the park 3 times. So every time I come there, it's always on my list of visits. All right. Yeah, it's me. We went to the Batu Caves. It was very surprising, but not many people who live in KL visit this place, because actually this is a Hindu place, and I know that the majority of people in KL are Muslims, and so my Malaysian friends were very excited because they were living like for 22 years in KL, but they had never been to this place, so it was fun. Okay, and that's me, the person who is going to give you a tour of Russian history of technical and engineering leadership. So I think it's time for me to introduce myself. My name is Prokhor. You can call me Paul for short if you like. This is like my international name. And today I will be talking about Russia's contribution into the world of technology and engineering. All right, so let's get started, shall we? Oh, I see in the chat the students. I recognize the places. So this is why when I learned that I'm going to give a lecture to Malaysian students, I was very, very excited. And for me, it's a big honor and a big pleasure to be a host. All right, so let's get started. So this is the name of our today's lecture. It is called History of Russian Leadership in Science and Technology. This is my name on the bottom of the slide, but you can call me Paul if you like. I'm a senior lecturer here in the Institute of Aviation, and I decided to divide my today's talk into two parts. So the first part will be called In the Air, because I will be focusing on speaking about how I achieve flying and stuff like that. And part will be called, guys, can mute the microphone, please. Some of the students need to mute them. Oh, yes, thank you. I see you muted. And the second part will be called Under the Skies. So please be prepared for two important and interesting parts. And surprise, surprise, in the end of this talk, when I finish, you will have a surprise from me. All right, which one? No, I'm not going to tell you, otherwise it won't be a surprise at all. Okay, so let's move on. So the first part of my talk is called In the Air. All right. So actually, what you see here are the pictures of modern artists or painters who read the legends and myths of Russia. And as you see, people wanted to fly as early as in the 16th century. There is a story on the left that there was a young man in a small village who decided to design his wings to make them with his own hands. Then he climbed up this bell tower and he jumped, and according to this legend, he even successfully landed. Well, you might expect that the king was very happy for him and he gave him a gold medal. No, no, no. The king decided to kill him because he said only birds can fly and humans have to walk. So this is the sad ending of the first attempt to fly. But again, this is a legend because we do not have some paper records of that. All right. By the way, does not this legend remind you of another universal legend that probably you learned about at school? So you can type it in the chat, so I will read it. No ideas? Okay, I will help you. It is a Greek legend. I see. Okay, so don't remember. All right. Okay, the brightest minds. Don't worry, I will help you out. So there is a Greek legend of two people, a father and a son. Their names were Daedalus and Icarus. They decided to escape from their Greek island, and the only way was to fly. They designed the wings, they constructed the wings, and when they were flying across the ocean, across the sea, the son, the young one, decided to fly to the sun. As a result, of course, the hot sun melted his wings and he crashed into the sea. Daedalus landed in safety, but Icarus crashed. So probably this is the first story of aviation crash and aviation investigation. Yeah, the construction material of the Greek guys was wax and bird's feathers. Yeah, wax and bird's feathers. Of course, it melted, and of course, it is a legend. But probably the young man from Russia, from the small village, who you can see in this slide, he read that legend because, as you see, this is a bell tower, and usually bell towers in Russian villages were a part of a monastery, and monasteries always had libraries. So probably that young man was very curious, and he decided to read about, and he was fascinated by the story, and this is how he flew. All right. On the right, you can see another person, also from the 16th century. This person wanted to make an attempt and fly in, also actually it was in the 17th century. He wanted to fly in a hot air balloon. So he filled it with the smoke, and he flew. And by the way, on the background, you can see the old monastery as well. All right, so probably it proves that he read about this idea in a book. By the way, do you know who is supposed to be the pioneer of hot air balloon flights? Okay, another idea for you. The country is France. So do you know any French people who originally created the hot air balloon? Okay, students? It's not a big deal if you don't know, because you are here to learn, and I'm here to give you this information, to tell you about this stuff, so no problem if you don't know. So actually, those two people were called Etienne and Joseph Montgolfier. Exactly, Etienne and Joseph Montgolfier, two French brothers. Yeah, they made the first hot air balloon, and they flew. Of course, probably you might wonder, why do we have to learn about Greek people, French people? We're here to study about Russian people. Yes, you are. You are here to learn about it. But the curious fact is that at that time, people did not have internet. People did not have smartphones. So they could not learn an idea by simply Googling it. So probably, as Russia has a big territory and small villages everywhere, so probably that idea came to the person's mind without any reading or studying something. This is just observation of the world around you. And this proves that probably at the same time, civilization was developing more or less at the same speed. All right, so once again, in this slide, we can see the first attempt of the Russian village boy to fly on the wings, and another village boy in the 17th century tried to fly in a hot air balloon. All right. But this one, what you see here, is the 19th century. And you can see that this is the first balloon made by a pharmacist. His name was Kashinsky. At that time, of course, he read about the attempts of the French people to fly, and he read about it in a book probably or in a newspaper, and he made it on his own. So you see that Russian people were very interested in flying, and they were very innovative. So they always tried to build something to fly in the air. All right, so we are approaching the end of the the beginning of the 19th century, and as you know, the first flight, a mechanical flight, was made by Americans, right? So it was made in let it be 1904. So do you remember the name of the two brothers who made the first airplane? I think everybody knows it. Yes, exactly. So I see that Amirul Abrar, I hope I pronounced the name correctly, thank you. The Wright brothers created the first biplane with the piston engine and a propeller. But actually, the first airplane made in the globe was Alexander Mazhaysky. He was a military person, and he created this airplane 20 years before the Wright brothers. And there is always a dispute. Who was the first? The Russians or the Americans? Well, there is no answer to this dispute because Actually, Alexander Majaysky was the first to build the plane, but it did not actually fly. He rolled his plane, this is just a model, down from the slide. The plane hopped and then it just landed. So in effect, it was not a flight, it was a hop. But this airplane, which you see, has all the important or essential components of an airplane. Look, it has wings, right? It has engines, right? It has propellers, it has a tail, it has a fuselage and landing gear, it has all the essential parts. But it did not fly because it was driven by a steam engine. By the way, why is the steam engine not the best solution for an airplane, do you think? Because we can see steam locomotives, they still run today in some places. But why is a steam engine a bad idea for flying? Any ideas? All right, somebody is typing. Well, yes, density. Yes, so Mr. Hairul Ayn Balkis just typed that it's too heavy. Exactly. It's too heavy and it's not effective. You see? So the idea of Alexander Majaysky was brilliant. He understood that if you want to fly, you don't need to flap wings like a bird. This idea is stupid. You cannot fly. You need fixed wings. So this is what he did. And only 20 years later, the Wright brothers in the USA created their plane, but it used a piston engine, like an automobile. And of course, it flew. You see? So this is why, again, I'm telling you, it's impossible to say who was the first. So the Wright brothers were the first who flew, and Majaysky in Russia was the first to build it like a real plane. So, and this is why this dispute is absolutely endless. All right. So here you can see a young lady. Her name is Miss Lydia Zvereva, and this is 1911. So this is, let me remember, 7 years later after the Wright brothers flew. This woman was the first woman ever to fly an airplane. This is why I call this like the first lady flyer. And she was a very brave one, and some people say that she was even sometimes too brave to drive this airplane. And this is why many people gave her a nickname, Lady Z. Lady Z, this was her nickname. And she even took part in aviation shows in Paris, and all the people were applauding because this was absolutely unbelievable that a woman can fly, because at those times there was no feminism and women did not have so many rights. And of course, for people it was shocking to see a woman flying a plane, and she did it in a very relaxed manner. So yes, as you see in this slide, if you look carefully, of course, this airplane has an engine. It is in the back and it has a propeller. And as you know, there are two types of propellers. You have a tractor propeller, which pulls the airplane which is behind, and this is a pusher, so it pushes the airplane. But I'm afraid I don't know exactly who produced this plane. French, Americans, Russians. Here we can just notice the first woman to fly, and this is 1911. Unfortunately, she died very young. She died at the age of 25. She had a pneumonia, and as you know, pneumonia was a very widespread disease at that time. It wasn't cured properly, and this is why she is claimed still the first woman to fly an airplane. All right, so Here you can see a good-looking young man on the left, and you can see something on the right. So can you try and guess what this slide is about? Because I know that probably you studied mathematics, but actually you studied mathematics at school and physics. So can you try and predict what this slide is about? Okay, I see people are typing. All right. So I would like somebody to share ideas. Yes, on the left you can see acceleration. Air resistance, yes, it probably can be taken into account in this case, but actually what you see here is a piece of aerobatics. So actually pilots who fly sport planes, they can perform different figures of aerobatics. And the one you can see here is called the Nesterov's loop. Exactly. So I see that somebody as Riati by name just texted the first to make a loop riding a plane. Exactly. And the curious thing is that this man, Pyotr Nesterov by name, he was a military pilot, and one day he sat down and he decided to make calculations if it is possible to make it, and only after making the calculations he performed it for the first time. You see, so this is why we respect this man, not only for making this brave attempt to perform this loop, but for making calculations. So he teaches us that safety comes first in aviation, right? So you cannot risk a plane, you cannot risk your life or other people's lives until you double check everything. So, and there is a story that some people said that no, Nesterov is not the first person who made the Nesterov's loop. It is a French person, and Louis by name. And when they met in aviation show, Piotr came to the aviation show and he met Louis, and Louis came up to him and gave him a big hug. He said, Piotr, I'm so happy to see you. I so respect you because I think you are the first person to make this loop. Of course, they laughed at each other and they decided that it's not a big deal. All right. But anyway, in all the textbooks, aerobatics belongs to Russia as its invention. So it was invented by a Russian. Well, we are approaching some period of time which is more or less close to us. And in this slide, you can see a piston engine airplane. It's called U2. No, it's not a rock band. It's not a rock band, music band. This is the name of the airplane. So you see it's a very basic plane. It was very popular for postal services and stuff like that. And it was produced in 1927. So it had a piston engine, as you see, a propeller. And this is a Russian design. All right. It's very easy to remember because it has a name like a music band. Well, now I'm going to approach a sad part of our story because we have reached the chapter of World War II. This is a very sad time in the life of the world and in the life of my country in particular, because my country suffered the biggest casualties in this death. So actually it was ruined. And in this slide you can see Ilyushin 2. So this is the name of the military plane. All right. So you can see that it still has a propeller and it has guns under the wings, and it has guns right near the propeller. So the interesting story about this plane, that it was the most mass-produced plane from 1942 to 1945. So this is the first interesting fact. So it was the most mass-produced. And the second interesting fact, that this airplane was produced exclusively in my hometown where I am now. Yes, believe it or not, but Illusion was produced in this city. All right. And when you come to the city by plane, and when you drive your car from the airport into the city center, there's a huge monument at the big roundabout, and it's impossible not to see it. It is standing on a huge monument, and it has all the lights around it. So every person who comes here always asks, like, what it is, what does it mean? And I always think it is a big honor for me to tell what it is. All right. Yes, the most spread airplane during the war. It was the most mass-produced. All right. And if you like, you can Google right now. You can open a tab and you can Google Illusion 2 Samara Monument, and you will immediately see a lot of pictures of this airplane standing on the monument. And another interesting thing is that many children worked on the factory during the war to help produce this airplane, because the Russian army, the Soviet army, needed this airplane so badly. So actually, luckily, the war ended, the peace was restored, and we could forget about the hard times. But now I'm going to tell you some mysterious story connected with the Nazi Germany. So do you know, students, who created the first rocket engine? Can you guess? It's not a big deal if you know, if you make your guesses. Even if they are not correct, it's not a big deal. You're trying to figure out like what it is. Any ideas? Okay, we can say even which country was the first to make a rocket engine. Come on, your guesses? No, not. Actually, Arisha and Mr. Hyrule probably. France, China, okay. So actually the first two guesses are very close, very close. But unfortunately, I cannot say that Russia or USA were the first to create a rocket engine. No, it was Germany. It was Germany. And an interesting fact that it was with the help of the Nazi Germany during World War II, because the Nazi invested millions of I don't know which which currency they had, like millions of dollars, let's say, into this production, and they designed the first rocket, V2, to bomb London, and actually they bombed London with those rockets, which flew from Germany to London. And by the way, people of London still remember and do not like that fact that they were bombed by the Germans. And after the war, when the war finished and the victory was proclaimed, Russians and Americans came to a small German village. It is on the Baltic Sea. It is very isolated. And they discovered a Nazi Germany laboratory, which was top secret. Nobody knew about it. So the Russian army and the American army decided to take all the laboratory units, but they did not know how to divide all what they found. And they decided that the Russian army takes all the documentation and all the units to Russia by train, and that the American army takes all the German scientists. So USA evacuated all the German scientists to the USA. So what do we get now? Now we get 2 rocket programs in Russia, in the USSR, and in the USA. And both programs were developing at the same speed because the Russians got the documentation and the samples, and Americans got the people, the scientists, the engineers from Germany who could make the same drawings and the same designs again. And of course, not only the rocket technologies were found in that laboratory, but also the jet engines. And this is why this slide is called Jet Age. In this slide, you can see the first jet fighter in Russia. It is called MiG-9. It's a very beautiful machine. Many of my students say it looks like a spaceship from the Star Wars. Probably, I don't know. But this airplane uses the engine which was built from the prototypes of German jet engines. You see? So the technology is Russian. The airplane is Russian, but it uses the ideas of the Germans. So it's very interesting. So this airplane could fly at incredibly high speed of about 1,000 kilometers. So an interesting fact, look at this slide. This is what you get before the war. This is what you get in the middle of the war. Have a look. And this is what you get after the war. You see, for my country, this period of time was the time of innovation, the time of technologies that were developing at an incredible speed. So in the next one, you can see MiG-15 post-war jet fighter. You can see how it looks like, and you can see its pilot's cabin. It has all the essentials of the modern airplanes, and it was built in 1948, so 3 years after the war. By the way, if some of the students who are here ever played American video game GTA 5 online edition, they have this airplane there. I saw it with my own eyes. So it was very popular, and it's a very unusual fact, but still this airplane is still used in such countries as Vietnam and North Korea. Yes, believe it or not, but army in Vietnam and army in North Korea still fly this airplane. It's unbelievable. They're still in use. So it uses a jet engine. And this is MiG-35, modern 5th generation fighter. It is produced in this year, and it's quite popular. I know that such countries as India, Pakistan, China, and many more, they buy these airplanes from Russia because they like the quality, and of course they like the price, because it is much cheaper than the American one or European one, but it has absolutely the same quality. It has avionics, it has fast engines, it has good weaponry. So it's a very beautiful and classic, well, not classic, but modern machine. But actually, many people say that it's not exactly the 5th generation fighter. It is called 4++ generation fighter. But I think it's not a big deal. It's almost 5th. Yeah, it's a very fast machine. Probably even Malaysia bought some of them 2 or 3 years ago. You can double check it. You can Google MiG-35, Malaysia Army, and stuff like that. So probably, if I'm not mistaken. But let's forget about the war times. Let's get to some peaceful things. So can you guess? Okay, actually you cannot guess because I have the title of the slide. So this is the first civil jet. But can you guess which other country claims that they were the first ones to produce a first civil airplane? So can you guess what that country was? Okay, I can give you one clue. This is not USA. No, it's not USA. Sorry. No, not China. Keep on guessing. It's an absolutely new country in our list. No, it's not Airbus. No, Airbus will be only in the 70s or 80s. No, it's not European. No, but when you speak about Europe, you are very close. Not Ukraine. No. Yes. So we have Mr. Faiz Nazari, who I hope this is an Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. Because I'm not sure if it's a female or male name, so just I apologize if I don't know. Some people are laughing at that. So yes, Britain. Great Britain was the country which emerged from nowhere in terms of aviation, and it was in, let me remember, 1956 and 1958. But Russia was the first one to produce and fly a civil airplane which used jet engine. Look at it carefully. Look at the picture. It does not have propellers, so it uses jet engine. So it gives incredible speed. It gives you unbelievable comfort, and in general, it looks cool. You see, but Britain produced the first jet plane which was called Comet. So also probably you heard about it. It was called the Havilland Comet, but unfortunately the Comet takes the first place. The first place belongs to the Russian airplane, which you can see here. And there is a funny story when the president of Russia, or USSR at that time, in the 50s, came on a business visit to London. Many journalists said, oh no, this is a fake airplane. Russia has only one, so it's a fake, it's not a real plane. This Russian president wants to show off. So of course the president was very unhappy. He immediately called back to the USSR, to Moscow, and he said, please send 2 more airplanes. The people said, like, why do you need 2 more? Because for the delegation you can get only 1 and it's enough. He said, please send 2 airplanes. And in the morning, 2 more airplanes landed in London. And this time the journalists, like, they were shocked. And they understood that this is not a fake, that Russia really has jet airplanes. And you probably wonder, like, why did not they, how could not they know about it? The answer is very easy. Russia was a closed country. It was closed by what was called Iron Curtain. Iron Curtain. And people in the world did not know absolutely anything what was going on here. There was no internet, there were no satellites who could take photos of what the Soviets were doing. So nothing. This is why the president had to send this airplane, like, you have to prove that this is not a fake plane. Now let's move on. Well, now you can see another one also produced in Russia. And again, all the airplanes I'm going to show you, they are not copies of American ones. They are not copies of British ones. Again, because Russia was a closed country. The engineers could not get any idea which way to go. Everything was done exclusively here with your own hands. You could not Google for some decisions. So everything was done here in a closed country. So this one was the first to make a cross-Atlantic flight, so non-stop. It could fly from Moscow to Vladivostok, it could fly from Moscow to Cuba. across the Atlantic Ocean. It could fly non-stop to Kuala Lumpur, for instance, to Beijing in China. And I remember that people who flew this airplane in Europe, the European people, Germans, French people, they were very surprised because the comfort was absolutely unbelievable. And everything inside was luxury, including the meals. The meals were not like today, because what you get in this plastic container, this is yikes, this is awful. But at that time, you were served with nice food, drinks, and everything you wanted. No, Russia is not a closed country anymore. You will study the history of Russia in one of your next classes, and another person will tell you when it was all finished. Russia became a closed country after the war, in 1945. I cannot say why. I cannot answer this question, why it became a closed country. Some people say that the European countries after the war started bullying us, and some people say that Russia was the bully, the bad guy, but still there is no answer. It was just a number of events which resulted in this thing. But I think that it was a closed country because of the competition. Everybody wanted to be the first. Everybody wanted to fly the first plane. Everybody wanted to make the first rocket. So everybody wanted to keep it secret and private. So probably this is it. But now everybody can fly here. I also want to tell you that every year Malaysian students come here to study. Last year we had 5 Malaysian students from Unicol, and the year before we also had 5 students again. And this year we did not get any Malaysian students, but we get students from Indonesia. So you don't, I'm not sure if you need a visa even. I think you need it, but it's done very easily. You just need a visa like if you go to the US or somewhere. All right. Oh, Arisha, thank you for the compliment. You're a wonderful person. On the bright side, we had so many innovations. Thank you. All right. So can you try and predict, while looking at these photos, what this story is going to be about? Sia Hiran, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. So students, what is it about? Breaking the record. Exactly. Arisha again is right. And Amirul is right. Oh my God, you are very knowledgeable young people. Amazing, thank you. This is exactly. This is Tupolev 144 or 144. It is the first ever supersonic plane. It appeared only 1 month before the French. No, it looks like Concorde. I will tell you a bit later. Faiz Nazari, I will tell you later. But it appeared only 1 month before Concorde. And it was a crazy race who would be the first. But we won this race, and we became the first to fly people, passengers at supersonic speed. Concorde appeared only 1 month later. But Tupolev did not become so popular as Concorde, again because Russia was a closed country and it flew supersonic planes only inside the country. And secondly, there was a terrible air crash in France in the aviation show. This airplane was maneuvering in the air on the aviation show. People were taking pictures and people were taking photos, and suddenly there was a military fighter, French fighter, and they collided. They crashed into each other. So the Tupolev exploded and crashed to the ground. Of course, after this crash, nobody wanted to buy Tupolev because it was in the news, like, look, the Russian supersonic plane crashed. So it is a very dangerous airplane. But you have to know that actually it wasn't a crash, it was a collision. Like two cars in the street collide. Of course, some car will be damaged, both. So this is the sad story of Tupolev. And if you want to get a closer look at it, I'm very proud to tell you that our university, where I work, has this airplane in our museum. If you go to the website of our university, if you switch to the English version of the website, and you go to Aviation Institute, and you go to museum, you will find the photos, and there is even a 3D tour of all the airplanes that our university has, including this beauty, including supersonic Tupolev 144. So anyway, you can even Google Samara Aviation Museum Tupolev 144, and you will get some hits. So you click on pictures and you will find a lot of stuff about that. Well, now my favorite part of the story, because the story of my family is very closely connected with this airplane. This is the most mass-produced airplane in Russia ever. It was the most common one, it was the most popular one. It is called Tupolev 154. Absolutely every Russian person knows about it because everybody flew it. In this photo, you can see it in the old livery on top, and on the biggest picture, you can see it in today's livery, in Aeroflot. So Aeroflot, it is the Russian carrier, national carrier. In Malaysia, you have Malaysia Airlines, and in Russia, we have Aeroflot Russian Airlines. So again, it's a flagship carrier. So why is it connected with my family? It is connected with my family because it is produced in Samara. Believe it or not, yes, this airplane is produced here. And my parents worked on this factory when they were younger, and they produced it. And I remember that like 10 or 15 years ago, I was taking my parents on a holiday, and when we arrived in the airport and we were coming to the airplane, this one, my mom recognized, she said, oh, I remember this plane, I remember this number, I made it. And I was very happy, like, Mom, you're going to fly the plane which you produced with your own hands. It's amazing, isn't it? So yeah, she was very happy. And it was an unbelievable experience for her because she didn't fly for a long period of time, and she was very happy to see this airplane again. You see, this is why it's an interesting story, because this airplane is produced in my hometown, Samara, and my family worked there, and I flew it. But unfortunately, this airplane is very old now, and Aeroflot does not fly it. Only the military people can use it because today Aeroflot flies mainly other brands. This model is very old because it began to be produced in 1968. So it is like 40 years or 50 years ago. So it's a rather old plane. It was produced, it was modified, it was upgraded, but still, well, you need replacement. And one day, Aeroflot said goodbye to this plane. Yeah, it's a very old one. But it does not mean that all the airplanes are 52 years old. They stopped producing them like maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago. So this is why you can even see them somewhere in the airports, you see? So it doesn't mean all of them are old, because it was a very popular mass-produced model. All right, let's go on. So this is the first wide-body jet. It is called Ilyushin 96. So it looks very beautiful and huge, and it is bigger than Boeing. But unfortunately, this plane was produced only in minimal numbers, because, as you know, in 1991, USSR collapsed, right? And the country was named not USSR, but it was called Russia again. And it was a very difficult time for industry, and Ilyushin, the brand, could not produce these airplanes anymore. So they produced like 80 airplanes all in all. It was produced from 80s to 1993, and they stopped production. And an interesting fact about this plane is that President Putin, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, has 3 of these planes. Of course, not personally he, but the Russian government. And when you watch the news, when President Putin goes on a business trip to China or to the USA, in the airport, you will see this airplane. So he flies 3 Ilyushin 96. So it's a very huge plane. It's very nice. It has showers, it has lounges inside, smoking areas. So it's like a palace inside. Now, Russian civil aviation today. So hard times are over, and we do not buy only Boeings and Airbuses, because we fly our own planes. So that's a very interesting thing, because in all the world, people buy imported planes, Boeing and Airbus. They're the most popular ones, right? But Russia does not need it, because we have many brands in Russia, local brands. So you can see Tupolev model 204. It's a very popular one. It's like a bus, literally. When you go on holiday, it's like 80% chances that you will fly Tupolev 204. We have the new smaller one, Superjet, Sukhoi Superjet, or SSJ, the short name. And maybe next year we will start flying this MC-21. MC-21 is the latest model. It is still under tests, and we will fly them soon. Of course, we have Boeings, we have Airbuses also, but it's like 50% of the fleet. We also have other ones. So we are done with the first part. I hope you enjoyed the Under the Sky section. And now we are getting down to earth, and just a few interesting things about what was happening in science and technology on the ground. Yes. Look at these old antique paintings. Believe it or not, but Russia used to be an empire. Yes, we had a king, or who was called emperor, and the country was called Russian Empire. And in this painting, you can see the Russian emperor, Peter I, who was a, oh yeah, Tsar, exactly, Tsar, that's good, but Tsar, it's a Russian word, and sometimes for better understanding, we just replace it with the king. But you're right, originally the word is Tsar, but you can call it king. No, we no longer have kings, we do not no longer have the royal family, and it's another sad story. Probably you will ask your history lecturer, but to cut a long story short, the royal family was killed after revolution in 1917. Yes, the new power which came into government decided to kill all the royal family, including the babies and the children. So that's a very sad part. Yes, that's true. And many of the royal families from Europe were very angry because the Russian royal family was closely connected with the royal families. For example, Russian emperor, who you see in this picture, he was married to a German princess, and his son was married to a British princess. And when the British Queen came to Russia on a visit 15 years ago, our president apologized for that murder because the member of the British royal family was married to that member of the Russian royal family. And of course, he had to apologize. Yes, that's a very sad story. It was very cruel. And I think that the majority of people try to forget about it. But still, it is a part of the history, and we must learn the lessons from it and never do it again. Anyway, this emperor, Peter I, or Peter the Great, he was a true innovator. He traveled to Europe. He went to museums. He went to libraries. He went to factories. And he wanted exactly the same in Russia. And this is how he created the Academy of Sciences. You can see St. Petersburg. Probably you heard about this beautiful city. So the biggest city in Russia is Moscow, the capital one. But before, it wasn't Moscow, which was the capital. It was St. Petersburg, which you see in the slide. It stands on the beautiful Neva River. All right, so this is how we became to develop our own sciences and technologies. Some time later, there was a village boy whose name was Mikhail Lomonosov, who you see in the picture in a very funny wig. Yeah, that was a very strange, I have to say. But who are we to judge? Teenagers now make crazy TikTok videos, but at that time people had this funny artificial hair, so fashion is different at different times. Okay, so no, Mikhail Lomonosov did not make TikTok videos, sorry. He made the first university. In the second picture, you can see a woman. This is the daughter of this man, of Peter I. So, as you understand, this old woman is an empress. So, if it is a man, it is an emperor. If it is a woman, she's an empress, right? So, and he established the first university in Russia. Look, this is the building of the first university in Moscow, and this is how it looks like now. You see, it is in Moscow, right in the center of Moscow. This building on the left and on the right, they are very old, but it does not mean that we do not have new buildings for this university. This is just the historical one. Now they have a brand new campus which looks very fashionable, and it has high towers and stuff like that. But this one is the historic one. And for you to know, Moscow University takes the highest rankings in international ratings. So this university has very strong scientific and technological traditions. Yes, exactly. So Noor, it looks not even like a castle. It looks like a castle from Harry Potter, I think, right? It looks like a building from Harry Potter. So Hermione is somewhere there. Yeah, it looks like Hogwarts, exactly. But this building was, let me remember, it's about 60 years old, 60 or 70 years old. Well, can you remember where you could see this table? So students, tell me, where did you see this table before? Oh yes, chemistry class, it was hell. For me, it was hell, because chemistry was a really difficult task for me. And I remember when I was a student at school, I was sitting right next to it. It was on the wall on my right. And I remember my teacher was shouting like, why don't you understand all these formulas? You are sitting next to it. But for me, it was like a closed door and locked door. For me, it was terrible. But on the left, you can see a brilliant man, Dmitry Mendeleev. He is the person who developed this table. Of course, he did not discover all of the elements. He discovered many of them, but he was the one who got the idea how to organize all those elements in a brilliant way, by valency, by the number of electrons and stuff like that. You see, it's a funny thing, but in Russia we never say periodic table of elements. We say Mendeleev's table of elements. For example, if you are sitting in your school class and you need it, you push your neighbor and you say, have you got Mendeleev's table? But in all the world, for some reason, everybody calls it periodic table of elements, but everybody knows it was made by a Russian scientist who gave it as a gift to the whole world. Well, can you guess what kind of experiment is taking place? A disclaimer, no dog suffered or was killed. So relax, the dog was fine. Yes, yes, so someone called Mazian got it absolutely correct. This is conditioned reflexes. Exactly. Right you are. So this is Mr. Ivan Pavlov. He was a surgeon, he was a scientist, he was a doctor, and he decided to make experiments, and he discovered that humans and animals have inborn reflexes that we get from the birth, and we have reflexes that we get while we live. Oh yeah, I learned it from, okay, very interesting. Good for you. So you helped me a lot with this story. So, and he even received a Nobel Prize for that. And that's a very funny picture that I put for you here. So, surgery and psychology. So, Mr. Nikolai Pirogov was a military surgeon. He served in the First World War, and he made many important discoveries about hygiene. He asked the doctors to wash their hands before approaching the patient so that they do not bring any bacteria inside the wound. So, and many more things which saved millions and millions of lives. So he printed his research and other doctors could read about it, and we can say that such simple things that he discovered saved many, many lives around the globe. But he was not also a surgeon. He was also an observer, and he observed that sometimes parents do not treat their children like equals, like humans. They treat them like children or some annoying little, you know, like children, so to say. And he wrote many research papers on how to take care of children properly. You don't have to shout. You don't have to punish them. You don't have to beat them. You have to develop their interests. You have to spend a lot of time with them, trying to understand what kind of hobbies they have, what kind of skills have to be developed. So this is why I decided to put this funny picture here, which and actually it revolutionized psychology, because before him upbringing children was a very classic science, and everybody had to obey their parents. And thanks to him, we can speak about liberal education or democratic education. So he was the first person to trigger the whole idea, like maybe we should develop children rather than punish and shout at them. Well, now some facts about Russia and military stuff. Well, so students who play online games immediately recognized this gun. It is called AK-47. It is the most popular gun in the whole world. It was designed by Mikhail Kalashnikov, who you see in this photo. By the way, can you guess why this is the most popular and the most copied gun in the whole world? Yeah, Counter-Strike, exactly. There are so many guns in the world, but this one in particular is the most popular. What made it so popular? There are two words. Lightweight. Well, I can't say it's really lightweight. High damage, yes, probably, but this is not. All of them are lightweight and they bring a lot of damage, but this is not the most. Yes, exactly. So someone by the name Azriyati is absolutely right. It is easy to assemble and disassemble. It takes about 30 seconds to put it together. And you need to assemble and disassemble to put lubrication on the parts from time to time so that it works properly. And of course, many military people were very happy, like, oh my God, I can easily assemble and disassemble it in a few seconds. That's a great thing. And the second, so this is the first idea. It's easy to assemble and disassemble. Okay, guys, let's talk money. It was very cheap. You know, military people, they don't want to spend a lot of money on ammunition. So this one was very cheap. So you get, it is lightweight, high damage, cheap, effective, and that's it. Что-то на экране он не выводит. Все. Не все, отбой. Все хорошо, отмена миссии. All right. So in this slide, you can see some defense warfare. This black and white photo shows you the tank T-34, which was the most mass-produced in the World War II. And it's very surprising because the Nazi Germany had so many advanced tanks of the newest models, and we were not really prepared for the war, but we managed to produce this machine, T-34, and it became the most effective weapon of the whole World War II. And on the right, you can see Armata. This is the latest tank. So it is produced in Russia. And if you open YouTube and if you type Victory Parade in Moscow, the Victory Parade in Moscow, and you scroll it, you will immediately see that there are many Armata tanks which are going on the parade. Because as you know, every year in May, we have this military parade to celebrate the victory over the Nazi Germany. And we have a huge demonstration of defense warfare, and Armata is always the highlight of this show. Well, in this photo, you can see the first man in space. So everybody knows him because he has this unforgettable, friendly smile. On the left, you can see the designer of the rocket, Sergei Korolev. Sergei Korolev is the one who is not wearing the military form. You see, he's the one sitting on the right of this black and white photo. By the way, this is Sergei Korolev, who took the Nazi Germany technologies from those laboratories to Russia. And this is the rocket which he built using some of the technologies. And of course, Russia was the first country in the world to launch the satellite into space, and Russia was the first country to launch the first human into space, Yuri Gagarin. And when he came back, he was greeted with all the respects and honors, and he traveled that year around the world, and people were crazy because they were so excited to see him. In YouTube, you can even find the video how people of New York greet Yuri Gagarin. So he's driving in Manhattan in this open car. He's waving people around him, and in the air, falling down from the tall buildings, there are pieces of paper. So people are saluting him with paper, and it looks like a huge hurricane. So of course people didn't have special effects at the time, but it was the biggest honor they could organize for him. Now we produce many more rockets. We have Soyuz, which is the most popular one. You can see it in the news from time to time because it launches food, supplies, cosmonauts to the space station. We also have Soyuz 2.A, which is a cargo rocket. This is why it has this bulky top side. And we have Angara, which is also a commercial rocket. So it's a very popular industry in this country. And I'm very proud to say that in our university, we have a special institute, which is called Space Rocket Engineering Institute, and students train to make rockets and satellites. They're called CubeSats. Cube means cubicle and sat means satellite, together CubeSat. It's the most recent technology in the world, CubeSat. Well, of course, we have to say something about the controversy of hydrogen and atomic bombs. What you see on the right is a hydrogen bomb. You know that Americans were the first to create the nuclear bomb, and Russia was the first country to create the H-bomb. So if you played Fallout game, probably you know the possible consequences of bombing by nuclear and hydrogen bombs. And you can see the person who created it, Andrei Sakharov. He was forced to create this bomb, and later, when he saw the results of testing, he became very sad and upset because he was working on technologies. He was not working on killing people. And in the end of his life, he participated in many conferences about peace. He wanted people to live in peace and to forget about bombing each other. So this is why we have even a diploma which is given to people who contribute to the actions of peace in the world. So if you make a great contribution to the peace in all the world, you receive diploma of Andrei Sakharov. But of course, he passed away a long time ago. Well, now it's time for us to play some games, right? We have gamers here, so please put on your headsets. We're going to play some game. All right. So maybe you remember your first mobile phone, which was probably was not a smartphone. It was just a small device, but it always had this game. And probably you never knew that Tetris was invented in Russia by a Russian IT person many, many years ago. Probably you have seen it before. Yes, Nokia had this game, exactly. It had a snake, and it had this game. And there is a very funny story about Tetris. Alexei, who you see in the picture, was a programmer in 1984. You can see old-fashioned computers behind him. And he wanted to make this game using 5 objects falling down. But it was very funny. But the computer in his laboratory, which was the size of the room, could not process 5 objects, 5 pieces falling. So he scratched his head and he decided to reduce the number from 5 to 4. This is why it is called Tetris, because tetra means 4. Four objects falling down, which you have to organize, to adjust so that you fill in the gaps. All right? So this is the legendary person and this is his legendary game. So, but before, as you understand, you had to have a computer the size of the room just to play one session of Tetris. And later, you can even play it on any mobile device. Well, so probably you use Google if you want to find some information for your science project, for your reporting class. But here in Russia, Google is also very popular, but not so popular as Yandex. What you see here is the team of people who established the company back in 1988, and they called it Yandex. You can see Mr. Arkady Volozh on the left. Oh, no, he's in the middle of this photo, the guy with the mustache over here. You can see this funny fashion of the 90s. And actually, he was the first person to make a search engine. And initially, it was a very basic one. This search engine could use only words in texts. So for example, you have a text and you need to find the word key. So you type the word key, you click search, and it immediately finds all the words key in the text and highlights it. But later, with the revolution of internet, he decided, why don't we use the same technology for searching keywords in the web, in the globe web? And this is what he came up with, Russian search engine Yandex. Now, this is the most popular engine and application in all Russian people's mobile phones. Everybody has it, really. But I think it's typical for many big countries. I know that China has Weibo, some other countries have their systems. So the same about Russia. So we have Yandex for emails, for weather, for traffic, and we even have Yandex Taxi. So when you arrive in the Russian airport and you get out of the airport, the first thing you will see is the yellow branded taxi of Yandex, the ones you can see in this picture. So that's a very nice and helpful application, and probably it's even more useful and helpful than Google, because here you get absolutely all applications inside one. You tap on it and you immediately see absolutely all you need. Well, this guy, Pavel Durov by name, probably is a familiar one for you because he developed the replica of Facebook, but he called it VK. You can see the interface of VK. And he designed the most secure messenger, which is called Telegram. Probably you or your friends have it. It is considered to be the most secure and private messenger in the whole IT world because it has a special encryption which is changing constantly. And I remember the times where the Secret Service of this country asked Pavel to give him the keys to Telegram so that they can decrypt the messenger and read what people text each other. And this man, Pavel Durov by name, he said, this is impossible. It doesn't have any keys. The keys are self-generating every second. There is no single key that I can give you. Of course, they did not believe him because they just, you have the messenger, you must have the keys. He said, we don't have the keys. So this is the one created by Telegram. So if you want private, secure messenger, the first thing that must come to your mind is Telegram. Well, now we are slowly approaching the end of our lecture part. You remember I will have a surprise in the end, okay? And and this is our contribution. In this slide, you can see my students who study at Aviation Institute, and they design and produce small drones or unmanned flying vehicles. All right, so they are very clever and intelligent young people, and they have already designed quite a few, and they are planning to sell these drones to agricultural companies to control the fields, the forests, and stuff like that. What you see here is also students of Samara University produce a lot of gadgets, and they do a lot of research in the field of laser technology on the left. And what you see on the right is the water purifying system produced by our students and teachers. Basically, you can purify rainwater, seawater, and just any polluted water in general. Okay, and this is a funny thing created by our students. This device or gadget helps you to assess the time of arrival of the next bus. Believe me, it's a very helpful thing, especially in Russia, because it's very cold in winter and you do not want to stand outside and wait for your bus to come. But in this case, it's quite easy because you are sitting in your office drinking tea, and on your mobile device, you can see, okay, the next bus is arriving in 10 minutes, I gotta go. And then you slowly put on your coat and you walk outside into the cold street, and a second later, your bus arrives. So there is no need to be standing outside, you know, waiting, and you know, it's chilly outside, so it's quite easy. And this one was created by our students. So as I told you before, we have strong traditions in designing rockets and rocket technologies, and our students also do a lot of mock-ups. They do a lot of small rockets and launch vehicles. So this is the one they demonstrated in France during some rocket show, and they received some diplomas and honorable medals for that, so that's great. Well, surprise, surprise, you can see my city Samara on this map. You see, this city looks like a huge triangle, and our university is right in the middle of this triangle, in the historical part of it, you see? And this picture, satellite picture, was made by a satellite made by our students. In the beginning, I told you that if you make a small satellite, it is called a cubic satellite, or CubeSat for short, and it is a very effective way of launching satellites because they're the size of a small box, and you can pack your rocket very, very close. And when the rocket gets into space, it opens up and like hundreds of small satellites spring out and immediately start their operation. And this is one of them. It is produced here in the laboratory. You can see some of the equipment also here. All right, so basically this is it. And if you would like to ask me any questions, feel free to do it now before we continue with the little surprise that I promised to give you. Okay, so you can use your microphone, or you can just type your question here. Okay, I see that some students are typing. All right, I see that the first question comes from Amirul Abrar. Can I ask you about Mars project? How is the Russian react on it? Well, as far as I know, we are planning to launch a rocket and a rover, Mars rover, as part of this project, but I'm not sure if we're going to be the first. I'm pretty sure that the US already has their rover on Mars, so of course they are the first ones. And if you ask about the first human expedition, again, this is something I cannot give you full answer to, because this is a very complex project. It's a very long flight, and you will face a lot of difficulties. So actually, it is not something which is on the news. But as far as I know, the creator of Tesla cars, Elon Musk, he is planning to launch such an expedition in the nearest future. But I'm not sure about the Russian expedition. How long is the aviation course in Samara University? Actually, we have two options. We have a bachelor's degree in aviation. You can become a technical specialist who is fixing the airplane on the ground. You know, technical engineers who fix airplanes. So bachelor's degree, 4 years. They have two options. This is like electrician and mechanical engineer. And we have also an option of airplane designer. So this is the person who will design the real plane or the helicopter. It takes 5 years. But as far as I remember, we have an exchange program with Malaysian universities, and we receive Malaysian students for 3 months. So it means that Malaysian students come here, they live in the hostel on campus, and they have special courses on avionics. They have courses on non-destructional methods of quality control, and many, many more. So you have to probably inquire from your university department, international department, if it's possible or not. But I remember we have this 3 months course. So students come here, they come to classes, they experience Russian culture, they make friends, and they have classes too. From your point of view, does Russia have achieved modernization when it comes to technology? Well, that's a very tricky question, because technology today has penetrated every aspect of our life. Everything is using IT. This is why we can say that the majority of spheres are modernized, and the majority of industries use IT technologies, and we use technologies which are produced locally here in Russia. But of course, we have some aspects of our life and technologies that still requires improvement. For instance, if we speak about designing new roads, the quality of new roads, and time of transportation by road transport, it still is very, very long, because we still have to develop the network of roads. But in case of science and technology, I think we are moving in at the same speed as the majority of European universities. The next one. Is there any incentive from the government in a way of promoting technologies exploration among the citizens of Russia? Yes, we do. The majority of Russian universities organize festivals of science. It means that any person, mostly of course school children, can come to this festival, and there are some quizzes, there are some experiments they can take part in. So it's a real festival. There's music, you can participate in making some basic experiments and stuff like that. And of course there are conferences which attract a lot of attention in the news. Of course, the most important conferences today are the medical ones due to this COVID situation. And everybody is listening to these conferences about the new vaccine against the COVID virus. Well, now I need 2 volunteers. So 2 people to participate in the next surprise, which I promised you. Probably, if you don't mind, probably this person will be Arisha, and there was Mrs. Amirul, I think. So can you please switch on your microphones, Arisha and Amirul? Come on, it's not going to be stressful. Maybe you unmute your microphone and join our conference right now. Okay, I see that Amirul is joining us. Don't be shy. Oh my God, look, he's in the tropics. Great. That's great. There's a tropic guy. So Arisha is joining. So say hello, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, greetings from Russia to you.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm going to bring a chart, and look at this chart. Hello. Hopefully, it is visible. Now it will be like a TV show, all right? Because I decided to organize a quiz for you, all right? Look how it is organized. We have names and we have inventions. So today I was telling you a lot about names and inventions from Russia, right? On the top, you can see scores, but let it be Malaysian ringgits, okay? So 100 Malaysian ringgits, 200, 300, and 400. What you basically do is you choose a category, names or inventions, and you choose the amount of money you are ready to risk, okay? And then I'm going to read you a question from my card. If you answer this question, I put a sign here. So the person who will get the most is the winner. Are you ready? This is called Jeopardy game. You know the word Jeopardy? Sorry guys for bringing
Yes.
it. You expected something nice, but now it's going to be a bit stressful. But relax, it's just a game. So let's play Jeopardy. So The lady will take, so Miss Arisha, you will take the green one, okay?
All right.
So I know that this is a good color, it will bring you luck. And the gentleman, you will get the red one, okay?
All right.
Is it all right? Good.
Yeah, it's all right.
You don't mind, the lady will be the first one. So Arisha, which category are you picking up?
The names and 100. I'm risking 100 ringgit.
100 ringgits, okay. Okay, here. Now listen to the question. Listen to the question. What was the nickname of the first lady flyer? What was the nickname of the woman who was the first to fly an airplane? A young, beautiful lady.
Is it Lady Lydia? I heard something that.
No, yes. Her name was Lady Zid, but her name was Lydia. Oh my God, you are the winner. You get 100 degrees from the TV show. So,
I win money.
yes. But Arisha, you will have to go to Bank of Malaysia and claim your money from there, all right?
Okay.
So now, Amirul, are you ready?
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. I will choose the invention 400.
Inventions 100.
Yeah.
Come on, you are a risky man. Come on, pick up something more risky.
Go for
I will take for
400.
400,
200.
yeah?
200, 200.
200, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm very good at convincing, you see, thank you. So, listen to the question. By the way, it is a very easy question, I have to say. I did not have to convince you. I have to give it to Arisha. So, what was the technical characteristic of a special airplane which appeared 1 month before another airplane in France?
There's Sonic too low, I guess.
Yes, but what was the special feature of this airplane?
Features.
But you got the name. So the name was Tupolev. So maybe you, Arisha, know what was the name, what was the special feature of this plane?
It's the fastest?
Yes, it's the fastest or supersonic. Okay, so it was the first time, Amirul, you get your money. All right. So now, Arisha, you know what to do next. So what do you choose?
Invention.
Inventions and money?
100.
100 again. Okay, that's a very clever strategy. Why was Tetris called Tetris?
Because 4 blocks
Yes,
coming down.
exactly. 4 blocks falling, 4 objects falling. Good.
Very easy question.
Okay. So, Amirul, you are the next.
4 for inventions.
400? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And names
the
or
man.
inventions?
For the invention.
Inventions, okay. So, listen to your question. Well, it's very surprising, but I think that the question is very easy for you. If you need top security and privacy, which messenger are you most likely to install on your mobile device?
Telegram.
That was too easy. You are the one who answered. Arisha, now you have to work hard. You have to work hard to collect your money.
Okay. I'm going for invention 300.
All right. So, who was the first man in space?
Oh,
You can describe him. What you remember about him? Maybe not the name, but huh?
friendly smile. The one in the military suit
Yes.
on the left.
And with a beautiful smile, exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah. His name was Yuri Gagarin, right, Amirul?
Yes.
Yes, Yuri Gagarin.
Oh,
Okay,
Gagarin.
this color, green color, brings you luck anyway. So, Amirul, you're welcome.
300 for invention.
Okay, so you stick to the same strategy. Okay. So, 300. But I think you know the answer. That's unfair. Let me see the. But don't help him anybody. Don't type it in the chat. So, Amirul, you have to answer the question. What was invented as a result of experiments under Pavlov's dog?
The flags? Condition flags, right?
I did not know that to be a TV star is so fun. Thank you, you're right. He discovered conditioned and unconditioned reflexes that we use in life. Okay, that's great. So now, Arisha, come on.
Names. 400.
Yes, that's good. That's great.
But I'm bad in memorizing, but I'll give it a try.
Okay, by the way, if you do not remember the name exactly, you can describe the person.
Okay.
Probably you remember him. What was the name and biography about the man who established the first ever university in Russia?
Oh.
We need some dramatic music in studio.
Oh my God. Wait. It's on the tip of my fingers.
So think, what do you remember about him? There is a very curious fact, because usually people who come to university are very clever and very educated. But in case with this man, it was quite the opposite. What was a very specific background of this man?
Can I steal the
I don't know,
question?
but no. But I know he made the Academy of Science, right? Is it?
No. Amirul, and do you know the answer?
Okay,
Yeah, the person with the wig is the
Oh my God!
He's with the wig.
The clock is ticking. All right.
It's a sun.
I'm sorry, but we have to follow the game's rules. I did not invent them, but the name of this person is Mikhail Lomonosov.
I said it, Mikhail.
Yes, you said it, really? Okay, let it be like this.
I really said it. I said Mikhail.
This is not my money. This is the money of the bank, so I can give it to everybody, you know. Take this money. All right. So, and we have a very dramatic moment. We have Mr. Amirul, who will win this money or he will not win. We will see what we will see. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
How can you see? He's very excited. He has this pillow or cushion around him. 100 names. If you arrive to Russia and you need a taxi very urgently, which brand are you going to get?
I know this.
Mirul, come on. What is the name of the taxi service? Search engine,
Man,
traffic, weather.
I don't remember. Yeah, wait.
I know.
No, it's not Yahoo. Yahoo is American. Arisha, do you know?
Yeah.
I
So, Amirul, your final word, yes or no?
is Yandex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mashallah, this is correct. You got it right. So we give you the score. Actually, this is Yandex, of course. Arisha, I'm sorry you don't get his money. But now let's count. Let's count. So Arisha, we will begin with you. So this is 200. This is 500. And this is 400. So you get 900. Now let's count the Amirul ones. So 400, 700, 700 plus, so it is like this.
And 1.1.
So Mr. Amirul, my congratulations. Please,
Yay.
tomorrow morning, go to Bank of Malaysia, come to the officer and ask for 1,100 ringgits, okay? And buy yourself a new scooter or something, all right? Anyway, thank you both of you. You saved me from this show because I thought nobody would agree, but you saved me and you were fantastic players. Thank you very much. So it was fun. Now, unfortunately, I will have to say goodbye to you both. So thank you, Ms. Tanya. Thank you, Ms. Arisha. Thank you very much. And thank you, спасибо. Спасибо большое. Thank you, all of you. You have been great audience. Thank you for being so active, for being so participating. Thank you very much, and hope to see you